So welcome to the October meeting of the Cabinet. So for the public records, we have Cabinet members present here in the room, as well as a number of senior officers, and some will be joining virtually. So I have a note of attendees and speakers, if there are any, but if virtual attendees wish to speak, they should indicate with the yellow hand icon, and we will pick this up in the meeting. So this meeting is being streamed live and recorded by the Council for subsequent broadcast via the Council's internet site. So if we can start by asking Cabinet members to introduce themselves and state their portfolio areas, and this is for the benefit of viewers who are watching. So I'll go, Mike.
Mike Hakata, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Climate Action, Environment and Transport.
Good evening, Ruth Gordon, Cabinet Member for Council, House Building, Placemaking and Development.
Hi, Councillor Sarah Williams, Cabinet Member for Finance and Local Investment.
Adam Jogi, Economic Development, Jobs and Community Cohesion.
Donna Collin, Cabinet Member for Housing, Private Renters and Letters.
Zina Brabson, Cabinet Member for Children, Schools and Families.
Lucia Desneves, Cabinet Member for Health, Social Care and Wellbeing.
Seema Chandwani, Cabinet Member for Tackling Inequality and Resident Services.
Julie Davis, Cabinet Member for Communities and Civic Life.
I probably should have started with introducing myself. So it's Councillor Perai Ahmet, Leader of the Council. Any apologies tonight?
No apologies for absence, Chair.
Thank you. Urgent business?
There are no items of urgent business to consider.
Thank you. Do any Cabinet members have any declarations of interest to make tonight? Okay. Item 5, which is the notice of intention to conduct business in private, any representations received and the response to any such representation. So this agenda does contain exempt items as set out at item 15, the exclusion of the press and public. There were no representations received at the agenda publication stage in relation to the exempt item on the agenda. So if we can turn to the minutes, which is item 6. So can the Cabinet please confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 13th of September 2022 as a correct record? Agreed. Item 7, there were no deputations, petitions or questions received. And if we can move to item 8, which is the matters referred to Cabinet by the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. So we have a scrutiny recommendation to consider, which is on the child poverty review completed by the Children and Young People Scrutiny Panel, which I believe Councillor Ganesh is presenting online and is contained as part of item 9. So if we can move to item 9, which is the Cabinet response to the Scrutiny Panel review on child poverty. And Councillor Ganesh, you're online, and I believe you're going to introduce the review for us. Are you there?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, can you hear me and see me okay?
Yep. Is the sound okay? Can everyone hear okay? We can hear you, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted to, first of all, begin by saying that I would like to thank the Cabinet for giving us this opportunity to present the reports of Children and Young People's Scrutiny Panel on child poverty. And I also like to take this opportunity to thank the panel members, including co-optees, for contributing to this review. I will basically, I just wanted to say that obviously child poverty was increasing. It was this, just a bit of context to this report. It was the end of the last we began evidence gathering at the beginning of the last administration. So it was basically following the lockdown rules being kind of lifted, and community, society going through a difficult time, financial time. But obviously panel was very much aware that children were, the impact of all of that on children and was huge, and hence why we kind of decided that it was timely to commission a thorough report on child poverty. Additionally, obviously, it was we were aware that the Barra plan was going to be updated and reviewed, and we felt like it was timely to kind of put child poverty, like a clear strategy on child poverty at the heart of the Barra plan as well. I'm not gonna, I know obviously I have limited time. I just wanted to first of all say that thank you very much to Cabinet, and my understanding is that there are obviously in this report, there are in total 11 recommendations, and Cabinet has accepted all 10 of them, except that item 6, which is, recommendation 6, which is partially accepted. And I think obviously the reasons are outlined there, that the cost implication, or it needs to be streamlined into the budget for this year if it was to accept that recommendation. But nonetheless, in principle, it's actually supporting that recommendation as well. I think the committee felt very strong about the category of the working poor families. We know that there are families who are working on two jobs or even full-time, but they're still not able to meet certain, they're not able to provide a decent life for their family and their children. And as a result, because the school meal criteria, it's kind of like linked with the benefit, or the like is means tested, in other words. Due to that, the so-called working poor groups does not benefit from free school meal. So I think that was the rationale behind that recommendation. And obviously it's something that panel felt really strong about it, and especially following hearing the testimonies and the from Tower Hamlet, which introduced universal free school meal for all primary schools, and the kind of positive impact of that on the society on whole, encouraged the panel to kind of make this recommendation. But I just nonetheless wanted to say that I thank the Cabinet for accepting almost all of them, except on this recommendation 6. I'll leave it there for now, Chair. I'm happy to answer obviously questions, and I hope I will probably have an opportunity to ask questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ganesh, and thank you for a very thorough piece of work on such an important issue. Do the Cabinet have any questions for Councillor Ganesh? No, if not, I think we can move to Councillor Brabazon, who's going to introduce the response to the scrutiny recommendations.
Thanks, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Gunes, for such a comprehensive introduction and for your kind words about the Cabinet. It's an important report, and I know on behalf of the Cabinet, I can say that we all welcome the report on the issue of child poverty, which, if it was vitally important when you did the report, is even more important now in the face of the financial crisis we're facing in this country. We know that the cost of living crisis is affecting families and those already living in poverty, and indeed many families who aren't living in poverty but who are finding the changes in the economy and energy bills very, very challenging. So it is vital the Council does all it can to meet people's needs and mitigate the worst impacts of inflation and other factors. The recommendations were very helpful, and I am, as you know, we have accepted all the recommendations. I'm very grateful that you recognise the caveat that we had to put on the issue of universal free school meals. This is not because the Council wouldn't wish to do it. It is because we'd simply like most authorities in the country, do not have the money to extend further, although we have done our best by introducing the extended free school meals programme, which is currently in place and which I hope we will sustain, which is meeting the giving an additional 500 to 600 children daily a school meal, and which is also being used in the, we're doing this throughout the school holidays through the Household Support Fund and the Holiday Activity Fund. We have, of course, put comments in the report, in the recommendations, explaining the position, because we wanted to make it crystal clear to the readers of the report that the Cabinet does, of course, support the principle of universality and is lobbying national government along with many other bodies, including National Education Union, the Mayor of London, and our own Labour Party has a policy for free school meals as well. But notwithstanding for local authorities, it is unsustainable in the financial crisis. So I wanted to make that clear in the response and here on the record, Chair. Having said that, we accepted all your reports and comments, which were very incredibly helpful, and I hope we will move to try and do our best to continue to mitigate the worst impact of child poverty in the borough. Of course, it's not just a matter for children's services, it cuts across the entire council, as indeed I think your report recognised. So I'll leave it there, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions from the Cabinet to Councillor Brabazon? No. Okay. Did anyone want to come in online? Councillor Ganesh, I think you said you may have some questions.
Not at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, it's probably your last opportunity. You don't have any questions, right? Okay, well, you can always come back to us at a later point. So I'm going to move to the resolution. If there's no questions, we don't have anyone online, do we? No. Okay, so the resolution is to approve the recommendations as set out at page 15. Do we all agree? Agreed. Agreed. Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Ganesh, and I'm sure we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. So if we can move to item 10, which is the Haringey School Travel Assistance Policy, and it's over to Councillor Brabazon again.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really pleased to be able to bring this report to Cabinet, because there's been a rather, I suppose I could say, a long journey, which seems appropriate since it's about school transport. It's been a long journey to get ourselves to the point where we've now got a suite of policies providing travel assistance for children with special educational needs and disabilities, and indeed for young people with special educational needs and disabilities. This report asks Cabinet to approve this suite of final draft policies. So I think they're in draft and they have to go out one more time. And they set the framework and underpin home to school travel for children and young people, including those aged 16 to 25 who have special educational needs and disabilities. We have a statutory duty to provide transport in accordance with the Education Act 1996. The policy review has been very timely and it has been, I can say, extremely extensive. The policies are set out in appendices 2 and 3 of this report and have been developed over quite a significant period of time, I think going back even to February 2019 or 2020, 2019, Anne, yeah. A review process was initiated in 2019, but of course delayed due to the pandemic. But as soon as we were able to, this was resumed and involved parents and carers, special school representatives, officers, and a wide range of partners. And I brought the first set of draft policies to Cabinet in March, and where it was agreed, and we went to the full public consultation, which ran from the 9th of May 2022 to the 31st of July, and the proposed changes are in the report. As I said, I think this has been one of the most extensively consulted policies in the council. I know myself that there were 4 online sessions because I booked into all of them. And I know that letters went out to all families. People were invited to comment, and I think there's a log in the papers showing the response to those comments. So the recommendation is to note the response and to agree that we approve the final draft policies. I'll leave it there, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Babbison. Any questions from any of the Cabinet? No. Okay, I believe Councillor Corley Harrison has a question and is online.
Thank you, Chair. Evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Yes.
Yep, we can hear
Jackie
you.
can. Okay, so first question refers to page 83 of the pack, and then the school placement section of it. So in that, it states that a child is only eligible to receive travel assistance from Haringey if they're attending their nearest suitable or qualifying school, and then goes on to say that if they have a school based on parental preference, then they would have to make their own arrangements. Given the legal precedent of a case against Dudley Council in 2012, which stated that regardless of whether the school is closest, the local authority is obligated to provide transport, are you satisfied that the policy is lawful, that there won't be a case brought against the council given the outcome of that case? Second question, given the rapid inflation we have going on obviously nationally, it stands to reason that money allocated to personal travel budgets will quickly become out of date. But as far as I can see, the only reference to inflationary pressures in the document refers to the council's budget rather than those of families. So will inflation be taken into account when these budgets are allocated, and could this be inserted into the policy? And then just in reference to the consultation, so the council's consultation charter says the end of the consultation will communicate what will happen next, when the results of the consultation will be published, when and by whom, etc. SEND parents have said to us that you informed them the consultation responses would be released in September and the decision being taken at November Cabinet, but both happened in October. So it wasn't the greatest amount of time for them to scrutinise the responses. Are they going to have an opportunity to do so? And then also on the response page, it said that there would be a Q&A session before the final policies are confirmed. So is that coming? Are you setting that up? Thank you.
Is that all your questions?
Yes, it is.
Okay, brilliant. Over to you, Councillor Robinson.
I assume that was one question with several sub-parts. I'm going to ask Jackie DeFalco to respond because I think some of them are quite technical. I wouldn't, not being a lawyer, I can't answer you directly on the lawful matter, but I'm sure Jackie or Fiona will be able to respond to that, and I'll leave Jackie to respond to the detailed questions you've asked.
Thank you, Councillor. So in terms of the lawful question, I will need to go back and check that, or maybe my colleague Fiona can assist, but I do believe that the policies that we're applying are lawful and it would take into consideration our legal and statutory duties. But we can check that and come back to you as a point of clarification. In terms of the other questions that you raised, in relation to personal travel budgets, that's obviously something that will evolve over time, particularly with inflation. It's something that we're looking at across the board. So looking at things in terms of placement costs as well as budgets like these. So it is something that we'll have to consider going forward. But I haven't got an answer for you now as to that's something we can implement as part of this policy. So I'll need to take that back and look at that because we do have other competing demands and budgetary pressures to consider. In terms of the other two questions that you raised, so apologies, I think it was an anomaly. I think we did publish on our transformation page that we were intending to publish the results, the outcome of the consultation in September, but actually it had to come to Cabinet first in October, and then we will publish the outcome of the consultation and the draft policies. We did put a note on the local offer once that was brought to our attention by parents of children with SEND and rectified that immediately. And in terms of the session with parents and carers and young people, we did promote that in our local offer in our Send newsletter to say that we will be having a follow-up Q&A session, really to respond to the fact that we didn't have the amount of consultation responses we would have liked despite the extensive promotion, but also recognising that these policies are very detailed. So we want to create an easy read access version, but also have a session where we can answer all sorts of questions around the key changes in the policies going forward. We will send that invite, as we have with the consultation, to our special schools, to our schools, to all households that have children who have travel assistance, and we'll promote it on our local office and newsletter too.
Do you know,
Does that
sorry,
cover
do you know
it?
roughly when that'll be, Jackie? Will it be in the next few weeks or months or?
So if it's approved this evening, then we will look to do that as soon as possible. Certainly within November, we'll be
Oh, right, okay.
promoting that and having that.
If anyone wanted to come back on the other one.
Chair, I would like to take the opportunity to let Cabinet know that we did not have one complaint about school transport this September. And indeed, the Parent Carer Forum praised our transport programme yesterday at the SEND Executive. And given the journey we've had, I think I would like to say that the officers and the team deserve a lot of praise for the changes that they have brought in. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. We can provide a written response to the councillor's question, and if there is any issue, we will flag that, but this has been a subject of legal advice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Jackie. Okay, hang on, lost my page. All right. So I think we can move to a resolution if there's no more questions, which is to approve the recommendations as set out at page 56. Are we all in agreement? Okay, if we can move to item 11, which is the minute of other bodies, can Cabinet just note the minutes and indicate they've noted by saying noted? Excellent. So item 12, which is to note the delegated decisions taken by directors set out in pages 205 to 212, noted. Item 13, new items of urgent business. There are no new items of urgent business. And if we can move to item 14, which is the exclusion of the press and public. And we'll now consider item 15, which contains exempt information in relation to item 6. So can I move that the press and public be excluded from the remainder of the meeting to consider this information as defined under paragraphs 3 and 5, part 1, schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Can we all agree?
Agree.
Okay, so I'm closing this section of the meeting.